If you guys are still playing FC24 and you want some cheap coins, make sure you check out MMOEXP.com. Their link is down in the description. They're very cheap, they're very reliable, and if you do use my code Rema, it will give you a lovely 5% discount off your order. So, what's up guys, it's Ash here and welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Hope you guys are all doing great today. In today's video guys, we have some tactics for the 4-2-3-1 formation. Over the years, this has probably been my consistent favourite. It's pretty viable every single year. Admittedly, this year and the previous year, it's mainly been a 4-3-2-1 fest. But the thing you'll find about the 4-2-3-1 is regardless of the meta, regardless of the game, it'll pretty much always do you a job because it's really well rounded, really well balanced in both the attack and the defense. It's one of these formations I've used for many years now, and I really like it. Now, I've also been using this formation on old gen, and I will actually say that this formation on old gen is probably the best. I will stand by that, and it's also good on new gen as well. So yeah, with all that aside guys, let's get right into the video. I hope you enjoy. Alrighty then guys, so starting off with the tactics, defensive style. You know the drill by now, we have this on balance. Now the reason we do this is because it does give us the best control over our defense. When we want to press our opponent we can, and when we want to drop off and be that bit more passive, we can also do that. So it's definitely the way to go in my opinion, but if you want to drop some pressure tactics, then that is also fine. Now moving on to the defensive width, I have this on 35 with this formation. Really nice, narrow and compact, which means it blocks out all of those attacks through the middle of the pitch because that area is really congested. It's made better by having, you know, really meta players, end game players with those intercept play styles, the block play styles. It just makes it very difficult to break through, to be honest. It's also pretty good at covering the wider areas because obviously these end game players have really good AI, really good pace, stuff like that. You can easily get out to those areas to defend it, so that's not too much of an issue either. Now moving on to the depth, I was using old gen for a bit as well, like I said, so I have it on 55, but for most new gen players and stuff, we have it on 100 depth. So this is what I primarily use on new gen because it basically gives you the really overpowered AI. Basically, you'll have a really high defensive line. The AI will mark pretty much every player on the opposition team, and it will also congest that middle area, breaking their attacking AI. So it basically defends for you, and it's really overpowered with the high-end cards that we have now. So this is what I would go with personally on new gen, which is what I would use on new gen. And yeah, moving on to the build-up play, guys, we have this on balanced. We go with balanced because it's the most fluid, the most varied, and the most consistent in my opinion. When you use balanced, guys, you can basically pick and choose between all types of build-up when and where you want to use them. So if you start off a game and you want to maybe play slow with the slow build-up, you can do that. And then if you want to randomly speed up and play a bit faster, you can also do that. So it allows you to pick and choose between all of these settings without, you know, having to do that in the game. You can just use balanced and it's most consistent anyway. Now for the chance creation, direct passing is an absolute must in FC24. I'm so glad this is gone in the next year, by the way. But the reason it's so good is because it's the only way to break through those park the bus defenses consistently. So when you use direct passing, guys, what happens is your attackers will commit these runs, and then defenders follow the attackers making the run. And then once that defender has overcommitted to the run that your attacker has made, your attacker then does like a track back movement to create space between them and the defender, so you can cut back or pass to them. So it's very, very effective, even if it is a little bit boring. Now, moving on to the attacking width. All you really need to know about this is the lower the attacking width, the more narrow your attack, and the higher the attacking width, the wider your attack. So you can basically pick a value that suits you based on that knowledge. I would recommend a range of 40 to 60, however, as it's not too extreme either way. So 40 obviously being more narrow, 60 being a bit wider. We're here with 45, which leans more to that narrow style. Now for the players in the box, I have this on 6. This is a preference thing. The reason I do it is because it gives you that nice balance where you get quite a few players into that penalty area, but you're not completely overcommitting to the point where you're not going to get counter-attacked all the time if you lose out on possession. Then for the corners and the free kicks, you can do what you want with that, but we just have them on 3 at the moment. Now, moving on to the player instructions for the 4-2-3-1, guys. On the striker, we have them on stay central and get in behind. Very important to have these instructions, as it's the only way to make your striker actually perform correctly in this game. So stay central is very important, especially in this formation, as it always gives you that focal point up top. If you don't have this player on stay central, they can get a little bit lost, and you might not actually have that main focal point in the team. So stay central is important to keep them in that position and to always have somebody to aim for. Getting behind is also important on this game because it's the only way to rely on your attacker to actually make runs. Now, if your opponent uses a pressure tactic or that 100 depth thing that we spoke about, and you have your player on mixed attack, then they basically turn stupid, to be honest with you. They don't move, they don't make runs, and they don't offer you anything. So getting behind makes them force those runs regardless of whether or not somebody is using that pressure tactic. Now, for these wide cams, guys, we pop them on comeback and defense and get into the box for cross. We pop them on comeback and defense just to make it as defensively sound as possible. So when you have these wide cams on comeback and defense, they'll sit next to those two DMs to fill in that space out wide. So there's not as much space for your opponent to exploit. It's that two solid banks of four with the defense and the midfield, which makes you really nice and defensively sound. Then we also have them on get into the box for cross, so they do not hesitate in getting into the penalty area and helping you out when you are on the attack. Now, for this central cam, guys, we have them on get into the box for cross and balanced basic defensive support. Now, the reason we leave them on basic as opposed to like the wide cams is because we need those wide cams to cover those spaces next to the DMs, but we don't really need this cam to come back anymore. You know, we can leave them on that basic defensive support as it gives you like another outlet when you win the ball back, because if you have everybody on comeback and defense, they're pretty much all sat in your own half and you have nowhere to get out. So having this player on basic defensive support gives you like an extra outlet, and then you can find your striker and play in your wingers, stuff like that. So that works nicely. And then get into the box for cross. Again, this is a preference thing so that they will commit into the penalty area to help you finish off those chances. Some people may want the cam to stay on the edge of the box for cross, but again, it's completely up to you what you do with that instruction. Now, for this left DM, guys, the more defensive of the two, I always suggest like a balance between your two DMs in this formation. So have one really defensive-minded player that's just going to sit back and, you know, be an absolute rock for you. And then next to them, pair them with somebody that's more of like a box-to-box and can help you with that transition from defense to attack, stuff like that. So I think it's very important to have a balance in this midfield, otherwise you'll struggle. So on this more defensive one, cut passing lanes, stay back, and cover center. Pretty self-explanatory. Stay back, don't want them flying forward, they're defensive. Cut passing lanes, so they always look to intercept those passes. It's made better if the player has that intercept play style. And then cover center, so that they'll primarily cover that middle area, because if you remember what we said, we have these wide cams coming back to cover the wing, so we don't need the DM to do that as well. Now for this right DM, like I said, the more box-to-box style player that we have next to them, we have them on the default settings and then just swap them to cover center. So we leave them on these default settings because we don't want to restrict them. They're the box-to-box, we want them to attack, we want them to defend, we kind of just want them to have that free roll, so we just let them do what they want. The only thing we change, like I said, is similar to the other DM, is cover center, so that they'll cover the middle as opposed to the wing, because like I said, the wingers come back to cover those wider positions. Now, moving on to the fullbacks, whichever one is your most attacking one, doesn't matter which. In my case, I'm using the right back to go forward. We pop them on balanced overlap. Now, this is because the 4-2-3-1, although you can make it wide with the attacking width, it's still quite a narrow structured formation. So a lot of the play does still go through the middle, which means sometimes you need to stretch out the opponent's defense. So the way we can do this is by sending this forward, this fullback forward on an overlapping run to give us that extra width, to give us that wider option and to stretch out the defense. So this is really effective and I enjoy using this. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I just think it gives you a lot more attacking variety. And for the other fullback, the more defensive of the two, stay back and overlap. So you always have at least 3 defenders back at a time, but when you send them on that run forward, just like the other fullback, they'll make that overlapping run to give you that width. For the 2 centre-backs, we leave them alone, of course, and the striker, we also leave them alone. But yeah, guys, they are my tactics and instructions for the 4-2-3-1. I hope you guys have enjoyed or found it useful. If you have, please be sure to drop it a like. It's up to the channel if you are new, of course, so you don't miss out on any videos, and don't forget to turn on those notifications. And yeah, with all that aside, guys, hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace out, guys, and take care.